Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, we're back. We're live. We're doing all those things. It is a Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got our continual every 3 months. You get to see the smiling face. But we have a special edition today. For those of you that aren't watching the live, you don't know what's going on, but you'll hear the voice, the man behind the camera that's normally just passing things over to our own DCD's Doug Dreier. We have live on the camera. He's not hiding out today. We have Trevor himself hanging out with us. Look at that. We got Trevor from behind the camera. So as we always do, folks, before we get these gentlemen going, and Trevor, so you know this is audio, so you do have to wait. You can't just wait.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm actually
trying
to do a social post right now. I do our social media, so I'm trying to let everybody know we're live.
All right, so let everybody know we're live so that they can jump on here. Because I'm sitting here and Trevor's like waving at me. I'm like, no one can see your wave. It's okay. Well, let them know, because all the DCD breaker folks, let them know they can come over to our Twitch, and we can get them. They can see us on our Twitch also. I mean, I know they want their own and everything, but they can jump onto ours. Ice Wolf's already showing up. Look at this. Ice Wolf's already on. Eagle's already on C22 Eagle.
Look at that.
Look at they're like ninjas. They're on this. They're making it happen. So as we always do, let's go ahead and do some house cleaning as we get the show getting ready to kick off here. First things first, as we always say, we got sticker and a cause. That's that big board behind me. If you've got a cause, something you believe in, still haven't gotten a DCD sticker yet.
Having a new order printed right now.
New order printed. That was a whole thing.
So we can send them your way.
That was like a whole thing on on the Discord there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Is checking that out. Make sure, folks, that's something I'll throw out right now. So make sure as we're going through this, you find DCD, all their locations. They're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on Twitch, they're on LinkedIn. You can find Doug on LinkedIn, Doug Dreier on LinkedIn.
We do all that.
They're everywhere. They're trying,
DCD collects everything.
That's it. DCD. That might be your new tagline. You might have just invented your new tagline. DCD ... collects everything.
There you go.
I think we got something going here. We'll have to hear from everybody. But as we always talk about, sticker and a cause. If you have something you believe in, something you're doing, something you think is important to you, make sure you reach out to us on our Facebook page.
I got this one. You're looking for
no, we throw that one away. Throw that shit right out.
Oh, and
throw that shit right out.
There. Here we go.
Yeah, look, hold on, Trevor. What's that sign say right there behind me? What's that say? Can you see it? You ain't got the glasses.
Okay, I saw it. I was ignoring it because
that happens.
Appreciating that my friends from LA. I'm not a football fan. I'm a baseball guy. If you hasn't noticed,
well, we'll talk about that too. I'm a baseball guy also, but I cry every time the season starts because I'm an O's fan.
Okay. I got no dog in the fight here. Seriously, Doug has introduced me to be a Rams fan, so I'm just by osmosis at best.
You just accept it. So, but make sure you reach out to us on our Facebook page, the Above the Bar Podcast. Or you can reach out to our network page, which is the Earplug Podcast Network. But our LinkedIn, our YouTube, our Twitter, our Twitch, even our emails, all the Above the Bar Podcast. Make sure you're reaching out to us. We're working on our actual official. I'm learning how to build. This is my age. I'm learning how to make a actual .com page.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing. But luckily, the folks over at Buzzworks, who's a friend of mine, Jessica, she's been on the show before. She's attempting to teach me. I'm teaching her podcasting, and she is teaching me how to do that stuff. So, as always support each other. So we've got that going on. So make sure you reach out, send me a sticker. We'll read it here live on the air. Also, though, but if your media is kind of collecting dust, and it shouldn't be, make sure you're reaching out to Media by Dibs. Media by Dibs is your source for all things media. You reach out to him. You can find him on Instagram. You can find him on Facebook, Media by Dibs, and that's DIBS. Or you go on LinkedIn and you go ahead and look him up as Andrew Dibble. That was his wife we had on Saturday for Dads Aren't Second Class podcast. We had Cheryl on. So you reach out to him, and if you mention hashtag belly up to the bar to him, he's going to give you a 10% discount on your first media order and a free consultation. So make sure you're reaching out to him. And then for all of you that are listening, the only other request I have is make sure you share today's show with every place you can think of. I don't care where you share it at. I don't care if you knock on your neighbor's door and tell them to go ahead and tune in. All those yard sale sites that you're on in Facebook, it should all be shared there. The goal is always to be kicked off of those things. That's a simple goal. Try to get kicked off of all those pages. So make sure you're sharing it to all those pages. So all the house cleaning is done. Everybody should have a beverage by now. You've bellied up to the bar. We're ready to go. As I'm sharing to some last minute podcast pages. Hopefully none of them kick us off here. I like it when podcast pages on Facebook that I share things to, like, tell me no, I can't add my stuff there, which makes me laugh. I'm like, isn't that what this is for?
It's crazy, right? Because honestly, I do all the social media pretty much for DCD Collects. And yeah, it's a thing. People don't realize the work that goes into making all this magic happen. So kudos on to you, honestly. The show layout's great. It's a good environment. So, but for those who don't know, that just want to get into podcasting, right?
Good luck.
There it is, right? I mean, and that's what we said about kind of DCD Collects. That's kind of how it worked for us. It was that kind of just ventured out, and the best thing you could tell anybody is just get started, right?
And there's my number one fan on LinkedIn, Heather. Hi, Heather. How are you?
Hello, Heather.
I'm waving again.
You see, I know that's why it's weird because you're seeing us and you think like, oh, I'm good. I can wave, and you don't realize it. I do it all the time. Yeah. So let's get into this. Let's start with, well, Trevor's on today. Do we want to get into the breaker boxes first?
Let's do it, man.
Let's go right into breaker boxes.
Go into breaker boxes.
So for those of you that don't know what a breaker box is, I don't think I could do it justice explaining it, because when people ask me about it, I'm like, it's like an adult blind box is what I kind of break it down to. But I'm going to let Trevor explain this one because he is the mastermind behind these things. And for those of you that as we're doing this, I'm going to bring up one. Look at for those of you that are watching the video, I've got one up right now. The cover art for it looks like a 70s style comic book. It has 3 of the bounty hunters, to include Boba Fett. And this was the Bounty Hunter Signature Series. My box was 19 of 50. Love the artwork and all this. But Trevor, go ahead and let's get into this. This is all you. Explain to everybody what a breaker box is.
Well, cheers, man. Yeah, no pressure, right? So, and thank you, by the way, for the art, because, first off, what we wanted to try to do in our boxes, right, our breaker boxes, is to have something different. So we're really about original art in ours. But to kind of break it down to the quintessential basics of it, what a box or a breaker box is, it's a mystery box, right? But what you're doing is you're chasing what we're calling hits. So inside of these, what we have what are prizes, if you will, but more of like what you're chasing. People call them chase cards and regular hobby packs for those who are familiar with opening Pokemon and other things like that. We're kind of familiar collectors with chase cards. For those who aren't, that's kind of the catch of this, right? What you're buying into is you want to buy into an opportunity of maybe getting a better thing with the premise of understanding you're still going to get some cool stuff. You're still going to get that kind of thing that you're into, kind of like that Boba Fett box that you have for us. I like to call it that because, dude, who doesn't love Boba Fett, right? Who doesn't love Star Wars? So for us, we kind of really lucked up into the Book of Boba timing with all this, because the big hit in that is what you're holding, the cover art. So what we got lucky by acquiring very early on, before the boom of Boba Fett is what I like to call it. The book itself, we got the first edition, or the first appearance of Boba Fett in a Marvel comic book, signed by Boba.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
So and Doug knows already what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So I saw that come up. Doug knows, Trevor knows, I'm a huge comic book guy. I have something sitting over here to the right. I just got from NYCC. I just got 2 of my CGC books back. I'm still waiting on. I hate the fact that they do this whole thing. Oh, if it was before 19 whatever, we're gonna hold on to this till you actually die, and then we'll give it back to you.
Yeah.
But I saw that one pop up. The money fell out of my wallet to buy that, and then I'm watching these live videos from WonderCon, and I watched. Like each one that's opening one, I'm like, you better not get it. You better not get it. You better not. I watched that wonderful, wonderful person who got that at WonderCon and got handed that book, and I was like, "Fuck this! I don't want nothing." I was mad. Like I was like a 4-year-old.
I love it.
I was like a
You're
4-year-old.
helping me so much sell this. This is great. Perfect. Yeah, we got
bro.
it perfect, right?
I was a
In a good way.
4-year-old. I was mad. I was like
throwing things.
I swear to you, there was part of me that was like, I'm gonna call Doug and tell him, give me my money back. I don't want this bullshit. No. And I was like, nope, you can't do that. You're not 4. You're an adult. You there's other things that are out there, but I promise you, I was like,
you were going Earl Weaver. You were throwing stuff.
I was Earl Weaver in it. Absolutely. The greatest arguer in baseball history, Earl Weaver. Guy was like 4. You know, he was a hardcore drunk too, right?
Oh yeah.
He is in Baltimore lore. Like if you were my father's age, about Baltimore cops used to pick him up all the time and drive him home. He was like a bad drunk.
So, and you wanted that book, of course, and that was the hit in that box. But there were so many other hits in there. There were signed Jeremy Bullock gauntlets. I think those are still in a box. There's signed, Jeremy Bullock cards. There were artwork of bounty hunters. There were so many other great things in there. And that's and I'm going to let Trevor explain this in a bit, but that was what we call our epic mystery box. They are stacked. They have original cards in there. They've got artwork. They've got autographs. And we're really trying to hit on nostalgia and the vibe of, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. I'm opening this up. So, why don't you show us what you got in your box?
Well, that's what I was going to say. So, and I don't want anybody who's listening is like, the hell is this, a DCD commercial? No, it's not. This is that environment. And like I mentioned, DCD has their community over on, gosh, I'm having a brain fart, Discord.
Yeah, we have a DCD Collects Discord. We have a Twitch. We have YouTube. It's about our community.
And you get involved in it. And DC, who's up in Buffalo, talk about sad football season. He's up in Buffalo, and we've talked. And the reason I bring this up is collecting is a community. It really is. I go to NYCC. Lee, God, pronounce Lee's last name. I never say it right. Cosi. Lee Cosi, who him and I hit it off right off the bat because he was another Marine who did a lot of the art and some of the other pieces. We realized that we've probably walked past each other at some point in time in a Marine Corps career and never knew who each other was. But this is that community. This is collecting as a community. I can't wait for NYCC that's coming up. We're already getting emails. I've already done my confirmation, but let's go through what I got. And one of these things, my wife asked this question. My best friend Ken asked this question. You're going to have to answer the mail for this one, Trevor. You're going to have to answer the mail. So, I mean, you just start looking at these like in great shape. I had my run was all dealing with being in Han Solo getting frozen in carbonite. Like I had the whole carbonite run in mind, which I thought was so great. I was like, this is perfect. All the cards, and then some of them. What made I got to ask this question? What was the deciding factor with what cards got put in hard sleeves?
Oh, you got a nice one too. So here's the thing. Okay, if you haven't noticed behind me, I'm kind of a card guy, right?
Right.
So for me, and as you can see, the full boxes, I know, isn't that okay? And by the way, for those who don't know, that actually was one of the lobby cards for Empire Strikes Back. So that's a very important photo. But I go back to saying that because I'm a pack guy, I'm a card guy, right? And I like unopened packs. So what I wanted to do inside of this product is, inside the breaks, what we did is Doug nailed it. We want the nostalgia. I want you guys to have that experience that you're having, like I got the carbonite run. So what got me to put this build together, quite frankly, was starting off with an amazing collection from Doug Dreier, and more importantly, Chad Dreier's father. He had this amazing collection of 2018 Topps Archives autograph cards. And as we have been breaking this collection down, when I say amazing, it's second to none. But as we pulled those out, we sat there and said, how do we break this down? And we found bounty hunters like, okay, what do we add to it to make it different, right? Than just putting a card in a box. And that's when it came up with vintage packs. So what you're doing is really funny because it backfired.
Okay, so now you brought up vintage packs. For those of you that are listening to the audio, I'm holding in my hand right now and my wife and I discussed this, a 1980s Topps chewing gum, unopened pack in a sleeve. I won't open it. I have no interest. The fact that, Trevor, you're holding an effing whole box of them is beyond my understanding. What the hell is that one? Which one is that?
That's
Series 1. This
that's
is
the
Series
big
1
one.
from 1977.
Right. Like from 77. I've got an unopened Empire Strikes backpack that I won't ever open. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this doesn't, like, I promise you, I initially looked at this and was like, oh, they're repros. They're repros. They're not.
No.
And what's really cool is send $2.50 plus one top Star Wars wrap to buy
You think it's
to
still
this
going to work?
PO
You think
box
that's good,
in
right?
Westbury, New York. And I'm thinking to
Dude,
myself,
Is anybody there?
Give it a shot.
Ken, you can hold it. Like, my best friend Ken is like, let me hold that. Now, so where did all these come from? And then we'll get
Okay,
to my
great question.
to my big start, because I have one of these packs. I got one of these.
Yeah.
You got yourself a hit.
I got
That's
myself a hit. Congratulations.
So that's what that is. So guys, for those who don't know, I want to take a step back because I didn't kind of finish like the box build philosophy.
Okay.
Because it's going to tie into your question. In the box building for us, we wanted to put, true collectibles in there, things that not only through nostalgia, but also had collectible value, right? It's not repop. It's not something that we've opened a million mystery boxes, loot boxes, and we did. And every time you open it up, it's somebody's old stock, right?
Right.
It's not something that you look at and go, oh, I want to display that. So for me and Doug, quite frankly, we sat down and said, for every box in our runs, we want someone to open it up and go, I will display the whole box. And I want to. It's a wow factor with it. And more importantly, what we found that a lot of people don't know is I'm a hoarder, right? So it's pretty obvious. And my whole life, I've Doug, hoarder, right? We're hoarders.
You can't see around my office, my studio. We're all together.
Kindred spirits, all of us.
So as we said that, what we wanted to do is, and we display it. So we wanted to put something together that had that impact, that had that wow, that every time you open up, you want to display the whole thing together. So vintage packs played a good role. And luckily enough, what we've been able to do is acquire this stuff early. And without being blunt, we put stuff in and we're not going to sell on the open market because what we're trying to do is we're trying to create something different, right? It's not necessarily, how much we're making off the product, because Doug will speak on that, how we split our artists and all that stuff further. I really want him to speak on that. But more so with the box build itself, we wanted, and we're lucky enough to buy this stuff before the inflation of Star Wars came out. So putting the packs in, right. And so we were able, our cost was low on it, and we just put them in. We didn't value it at current market value. So without getting into much semantics of it all, we really pushed our products and we've bought well. So, and that's what we're able to do because not only Doug's background, but a little background on myself. I started going to the National in 1987, and that for those who don't know, the National is a national baseball card convention.
Oh, wow.
And,
where's that at?
So that was in Anaheim back in the 80s.
And used to be in Anaheim, which is where I used to go, and where Trevor and I also probably walked past each other hundreds of times.
Isn't that the best? I love it.
But for us, that is what collecting is, right? It is. And I say that because in that little box that you opened up, that mountain of nostalgia that came out from the wax pack feel to the gum that's in there when you open the pack. And when I say it backfired, this backfired. Because what I was trying to do in there is I put the vintage packs in and I also put 10 original cards. So what we did is we took an Empire Strikes Back and a Star and a Return of the Jedi full set mint cherry. And we put it in there in its order run, right? So you get 10 cards from the set, how it ran, and you got a nasty run. You got a really nice run of cards, but they're mint. So, but people don't realize this, right? That now those things, there's grading involved. There's there's all these other layers now that make collectibles have a little extra, I guess, value if you really look at mint cards. So for lack of a better term, Doug likes to say, we just loaded the boxes and we're going to continue to do that because that's what we want to put out there. We're not interested in necessarily, we want our consumers to open that up, right?
Well, and we think about this. I mean, one, we're using this, it's sort of our foundation. Like we're trying to build we're trying to grow. We're trying to build, the strongest foundation we can. And so we're very long-term thinkers, Trevor and I. Trevor and I have known each other 20 plus years. We have very similar concepts on collecting, on business. But we wanted to build something now that provides a very strong foundation. The other thing we really want to do is, so that box was $199.99, and so that's a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely.
But what you're getting out of that is the product inside, but in addition, we're hopefully giving you the 30 minutes of you opening that box and looking through those cards. In addition, we're hoping you open them with us on screen, so you're part of the community. And I liken it to being in a card shop or a comic book store with your friends, and you're all opening these things together, and you are commiserating, you are celebrating, you are excited. You're a little bummed that you didn't get the comic book, but you're so excited that couple that got the comic book.
Let's
well,
not bring that up.
But you know, but the people.
Look, there was a part of me that was like, maybe Doug likes me that much that he slid that shit off to the side and was like, "This one's for Murph." Like there was part of
that subject later, because that's a big problem with other.
Well, that's a breaker issue. That's a breaker issue.
But, you know, we want to build this community, so when you know who gets that prize, you're excited for them. You're thrilled. You're with your friends. And so rather than just opening it up by yourself or just kind of going, oh, wow, you're in this whole experience. Those live breaks we're doing, those are 2 hours long. And so you think about a movie or a concert or an event that you are attending. And so the value in that box is not only the material, but it's also the experience and the community, the communal collecting part of it that we've been talking about. And you get to see how people react, and you get to see people tell stories about things we don't know about. We did a break of artwork from my collection, and somebody got a piece of art that, unknowing to any of us, he was thrilled to get it because it meant a lot to him personally. It goes into a background of him. And so we don't often know how connected and how powerful these things can be, and how powerful collecting is. And that even goes to a collection Trevor and I had this morning about how collecting can really even get you out of a funk that you're in.
Oh, absolutely.
But 100%. It's really about the community. And that's our tagline from the beginning has been, you know, cultivating collectors, you know, growing, teaching, watering, you know, and then creating community, because that really is what this is about. We are finding like souls. When you came to us and you bought your first box and you didn't really know what you were doing, but you have found it's enjoyable. It's fun. Absolutely. You're getting cool things. You might get a hit. You might get the gold star, which was one of Trevor's great ideas.
I love that.
It's more than just getting stuff. It's the moments of getting stuff. It's the memories, the people. You are now part of a collecting tribe that can work together and have fun. And then it leads to other things. Trevor and I grew up collecting baseball cards. We met 20 some odd years ago, and now he was in my wedding. I was in his wedding. No. We have gone through so much together, all because little pieces of cardboard.
That's it.
I'm thankful. Collecting's given me my job, my life, my family, my best friends. It's so much more than that, and we're trying to recreate that here.
Regrow it. Now, I got to ask, the only thing I need next time we do a breaker with the cards is I need a camera on Trevor. I can't think of the guy's name that always wants the packs open.
Bourbon.
Bourbon. God, that's it. Bourbon.
Yeah.
Because Bourbon's the guy who's like, no, open the pack. Rip it open. I want to see what's in that.
Trevor. So if there was a camera on Trevor, it'd be like,
like just have to be. And again, folks, these card packs are 41 years old.
They're not going to make them anymore.
This isn't coming out. My wife's upstairs going, I want to eat the gum out of it. I'm like, you open that. We will have all kinds of issues.
Okay. So let me tell you a quick story about that. We once, my dad and I bought a box of candy gum cards from the 1920s.
Oh, wow.
And it had 48 packs. They were thin. I think they were called dopey cards or something, pre-Disney. And there were a few extras. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to open it up. I'm going to eat the gum. Ate the gum, which is, at the time was probably just a mere 100 years old, 90 years old. And I am still alive. I was only in the hospital for about 4 or 5 months. No, I'm just kidding.
Damn.
It was very much like crumbly cardboard with a hint of gum flavor, but mostly it was dust.
But there's also a little hint of mold, so be very careful.
Yeah, yeah. You go ahead and add that to your
I've got
system. Like I
kids,
said,
I'm used to being dirty like that.
Ice Wolf says, "I'm so
Yeah.
stoked. I'm so stoked that I got one of the rack packs, which are very cool. If you don't know what a rack pack is, folks, back in the day, they would be like
Hold
4
on.
packs to get.
Yeah,
There you go. For
like
those of you that are watching the live, they're 4 packs together. There would be an unopened regular pack and then just loose cards in there. That's an ET pack that Trevor was just holding up. Classic there. Back in the day, everything had a card. That's how you kind of market it. Nathan says, "What's up?" He just mentioned, Sean, I'd like to have one of those boxes for Christmas. You can have one. You can buy one from DCD Collects. No problem. They're welcome to give that to you. So we talked about this Gold Star one. Let me flip this up here real quick.
Let's see what you got.
So I have the Jeremy. How do you pronounce his last name? Bunch? How do you pronounce
Bullock.
it? Bullock. That's it.
Jeremy
As Boba
Bullock.
Fett, number 65, autograph, Sith holocron card.
Yeah.
And I actually tried to look this up to try to find a value, and I'm like, there's got to be a value. Couldn't find nothing.
So
They're about
Jeremy
$150 to $200.
Was one of the guys that played Boba Fett and ultimately became the Boba Fett, the guy that everybody associated with Boba Fett, the guy that when people wanted Boba Fett things autographed was Jeremy Bullock. Okay. So there was another guy, and I can't recall his name right now. Trevor might know, but Bullock became the guy, and so he was immensely popular. Passed away fairly recently, and
like last year.
His autographs are very desirable, and of course, so when you think of bounty hunters, you think of Boba Fett, and he is the Boba Fett. So you got a real hit. That autograph alone is a real hit in that box. So congratulations.
Look, if the guy who's out there has got the comic book though wants to talk.
Hold on. And I'll say that because I don't think he would be afraid to say his name. His name's Steve. He's one of our groups. He's one of our new loyal members of the family, and that book ain't going.
Nope.
That book is locked down forever. They're building an amazing Star Wars collection as we speak. But that kind of leads up to the conversation of that, right? That's what this is about. Because before he literally is going, how do you guys display your cards in our Discord? It is introduced like you, right? And the other guy's name is John Morton, by the way. There's John Morton, and there's a few other people. But inside that Boba break, that's what we did. We put every actor that played Boba, even down to Baby Boba, right? But for us, it's making sure that you get a collectible with a story. Right. And not only that, as you saw, get a chance of getting something with some real value. No joke.
Oh, yeah.
That's a serious card. That card probably paid for 2 boxes. Right.
Yeah.
But for us, the way we acquire this stuff, we acquire it at a different time, lower points. And we're going to put stuff in because we have it. But also for us, and I want to lead up into this, it really is about the art, because one thing we haven't talked about Boba Fett yet, the art's everything in this. For us, everybody's got mystery boxes. For those who know and seen breaking, like Pokemon cards and sports cards, it's everywhere. Okay. Yeah. One thing that's not, and the one thing we're getting a compliment a lot, and something I'm really proud of, is our other partner that isn't with us. His name's Lee Cosi. Did you already mention him?
Yep.
His work inside of this project, Bounty Hunters, is second to none. We called them sketch cards, but it's not. They're art cards. And what we're doing with our art cards is really showing people how you can collect art. You can have art, because so many people want the one-of-one card, right? They open it up. Oh, I got the one-of-one card. Well, guess what art is? It's all one-of-one.
Well, I want to pause you for a second. I say this all the time. People are like Picasso, blah, 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 all these different major artists, I've got a Rembrandt, I got a this, I got a that. And taking into account that comic books, whether you like it or not, folks, are art. They are done by artists. They are, and keeping in mind, because I love Neil Adams. Neil Adams is probably the best advocate for artists in any modern generation.
Sure.
And I'm not going to get into the whole story, folks. Take your time. Go look up what Neil Adams did for modern comic book artists to own their art. Yep. Because before that, you did your art. It belonged to the comic book company. You could reap no benefit of it. Today, those guys do a page. It's their page. They can sell it and do whatever they want with it. Yes, the comic book company owns the official book, but that page belongs to the artist. And I just got to show you guys this because I want you to see it as it comes up. As it kind of
Oh yeah, we know that one.
Now.
Yeah,
one of the best.
that is the Silver Surfer at a 3.5 CGC, which
Love
isn't
it.
a high CGC, but I looked it up, and I mean, when you realize that this is Stan Lee,
Yep.
Buscemi's cover, Joe Sennett, who was from where I'm from, and I actually
Yep.
have an original. I have original Joe Sennett art, but my daughter has an original Joe Sennett Cookie Monster. He's never done Cookie Monster except for in that book, and he even told us, he was like, "Nobody's ever asked me to do Cookie Monster." Well, how about that shit? I got it. And then you get into like Gene Collins, Sid Shore's art's in this.
Yeah.
You know, all these different names. But what I have waiting for me in the CGC cave, whenever those people get back, and this is where you never know where this stuff is going to go.
Right.
So Prince Namor is going to be in the new Black Panther movie.
Absolutely.
I have Namor #1 getting CGC'd right now. And then I also just, that same day I dropped off Shield #1.
Yeah.
So, which has the best, funkiest disco level art if you've never seen it.
Love it.
I don't remember who did the painting with the melting clocks. Who is that? That's
Dali. Salvador Dali.
Salvador Denali.
Yeah.
Like if you ever look at some of the early Shield stuff from that era, like that's straight up Salvador Denali level art. It's wild.
I mean, you brought up original artwork, and Trevor did, and you talked about, Picasso and so forth. I mean, if you go back to some of the great early artwork like Frazetta, you're talking about Kirby, you're talking about a lot of those original guys. They, Frazettas can go for millions of dollars. You're looking at some of the most famous pieces of art. You think of Tarzan.
I was going to say, tell people what the art he did. Like, you can't just say his name. Most people have no idea what he did.
Frazetta was the pulp artist cover of a lifetime. And so you think about John Carter Mars books, Tarzan covers. Those were Frazetta. And so when you're imagining what Tarzan is, you're really seeing Frazetta's artwork on Tarzan. It's like, and so those
created
guys
a prototype.
Those guys have transcended. And Kirby's the same. I mean, early Kirby's and so forth. They have transcended comic books and have become art. And so there are artists like one that we love. One of my favorite artists is William Stout. And William Stout is a famous artist who did he did the Monty Python Life of Brian poster. He did a lot of art posters. And he is famous for dinosaurs and monsters. And if you go into museums around the country and you see great murals in the Natural History Museum, he did those as well.
Oh, wow.
So you've got a guy here that has been working for years and years, that has transcended comic book art, and he's done comic book art, but now he does rock posters, he does books, he does museums, and his work is priced accordingly. People who do art are artists no matter the medium. It's comic book. And one of the things we are doing and what we're trying to do is focus on original art. So that Epic Mystery Break had 50 boxes. Half of them had original art. And you could have gotten an original sketch, or not even a sketch. Trevor's right. They're not sketches. They are art. They are fully painted cards. And those are not cheap. They are not quick. But you getting that box, you're opening, and you've got something that nobody else has, that no one else will have unless you give it to them. And it's yours. It's one of a kind. It's unique. You have an original piece of art. And that has been one of the things we've shifted to. We had a brain trust meeting, Trevor and I, in DC, and we brought in Lee. We were originally going to be cards. And we switched over to art and realized people don't know about art. People don't know that they're going out and buying prints. They don't know they could own the original. And we had this conversation again this morning, Trevor and I. People are paying thousands and thousands of dollars to buy a box of cards to get maybe a Mike Trout jersey card. You can spend this amount of money. Hold on. And you can buy a Mike Trout game worn jersey.
hold on.
You can buy the game worn stuff. All right,
Hold on.
let's
I
hear
gotta
it.
stop. Doug, I gotta stop you for a second. This is breaking news.
Breaking news.
I got breaking fucking news. Like, hold on. What does that
Ah.
say? Get
What a
it? Breaking
great
news. It's
decision.
DC the Breaker. I had to pause you for that.
DC
Get
the
it?
Breaker.
It's
I had
pretty
to pause
good.
you.
Hey,
Get it?
DC, what's going on? We got him out there.
We need DC here one night. We'll do a Saturday night break where we can get him here and
We
all
got to
three
get
of
him in.
us. Four of
I
us
didn't mean to
up.
cut you off, but I had to
No.
throw that out there because that seemed like it was very important. It was breaking
Well,
news.
and it really was a monumental shift in our business plan, and really it has been the best thing we've done. We now get to work with artists, and we're getting to we'll talk to an artist, particularly with our artist spotlights. Like Lee Cozy has Holy Ship right now, and he had a desire. He wanted to do spaceships from everything. He didn't want to be tied to a single theme of Star Wars or Star Trek or anything. He wanted to just say, I want to draw ships from whatever, whether they be the Bob's Big Boy ship from Austin Powers, Battlestar Galactica, Halo, Alien, Star Trek, Eagle 5.
What is
From
Eagle
Spaceballs.
5?
All that is from
Spaceballs. That was the space.
From Winnebago.
It was,
We work with these artists. They get to do what they want to do, what's going to show them off best, and they're getting their art into people's hands. And what we have heard from many of our artists that have worked with us is they're getting follow-up, they're getting people on their social, they're getting commissions, they're building this network as well. And so people have now, our best advocates are other artists. Hey, you should go work with DCD Collects because they're treating artists fairly, they're paying them fairly, it's a collaboration, not just an assignment. And we're trying to build these artists up and show people that they can have original art in their house. It's not difficult. It's pretty damned cool.
I love it. And you're getting a lot of comments already. We'll get to the comments first, and then we'll ask the question. So Nate's over here. He thinks that the stuff was badass. He also wants to talk to you guys and Nate's pretty well connected. He says, I can help you guys out. I have a Star Wars following. He actually runs the Flock, which is the Ravens Facebook page.
All right.
And has a actual Ravens players. That's one of the few pages that they will actually join and communicate with people, prior players, because, I pick on Nathan a lot. He's a good friend of mine, but he's actually one of the few guys that has helped a lot of those guys out. Ernest Biner, like he talks to Ernest Biner on Sundays. It's like the weirdest thing. So he's got that, but he's got some good questions though. His question is, any signed lightsabers?
Well, I'd like to touch on this really quick because first off, Nathan, thanks for the offer, because before I answer that question, that's what this is all about for us. I can't tell you how many times that we've stepped into it and people are like, dude, we just want to help, right? Because like-minded folks find like-minded folks. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Me and Doug, as we've gone through this. So Nathan, yes, DM us on Insta, hit me up. I run the Insta, send me a message over there. We'll follow, share, because Sean, you know that we've done that. This to us is all about collaboration, guys, because the more that we can make a network that people feel safe in, and that's the biggest thing here. Doug brought it up, $200 a box. This is expensive. This stuff isn't cheap. So it's all about that. But to kind of take a step back and answer Nathan's question here, do we have signed lightsabers? Not yet, but
not yet.
We're going to Comic-Cons. There's a yet there. And when I say that, the access that we're gaining when you do deal with someone like Lee Cozy, because, and Doug Dreier, let's be honest, man, for those who don't know my guy, Doug, he's literally worked in the industry at the highest level with some of the biggest names that you could think of. With that gains us access, and that gain access gives that out to our family. Yeah. And that's what we like to call them. That all our collectors that come together like you and all of this, it's Doug's favorite saying through all of this, Nathan. So it's rising tide, right? And that's what's happening right now in the world of collecting is we have this giant rising tide of people getting back into it, right? People want to call it COVID, all these other things. Why are people collecting again? Well, not only nostalgia and we need something to do, but what we're finding is that common boundary of sharing. So Nathan, again, dude, thanks, man. That's a huge offer. And whatever we can do to work together, that's what we're about.
Yeah.
And John's wondering John's a big wrestling fan. Nathan's a big
So
wrestling fan.
we
Any
do not
wrestling
have a
What?
wrestling product, but
You jabronis.
we are in
Bunch
the
of jabronis
process.
around here.
And Trevor, I'm going to out
You
this.
said jabroni? Okay.
Bunch of
We're
jabronis
working
around
on
here. I got no
product.
wrestling stuff.
Okay.
I'm going to out this. We have a product coming up that we're working on called Mount Rushmore of Sports. And we're really taking what we call, the 4 players who would be on the Mount Rushmore.
Oh,
And there's
God.
going to be original art. So wrestling could certainly be a part of that. And,
Are we going by era?
Uh-oh,
No,
here's the debate. Here it goes.
That's
Hold
the
on.
debate, right? So you're talking
Man.
Jim Brown earlier.
Right.
But
Like I
it's-
mean, you go era, you go Ali,
Of course.
Unitas,
But we're going
Brown.
to go by sport. So they're going to, so say we have baseball, there's going to be 4 cards. Football, 4 cards. Mount Rushmore is four people.
There you go.
And we're going to have Olympics, and we're going to have baseball, football, basketball.
Right.
hockey.
I mean,
Could we
God.
do wrestling? So there you would have take your pick. And that's the great thing. This is
Jim
going to
Thorpe.
inspire debate, right? Because
Right.
you may say Jim Brown, but we're not going to put Tom Brady in there. Why? Because Tom Brady's not retired.
Oh,
Right.
So
Right.
We're
Like-
going to focus on retired.
Hold on.
Mostly because I'm not a Tom Brady guy. That's my new
there it
rule.
is. There's
But-
the point.
Hold on. Hold on.
but
Now,
so
I
you
want to
think
hear your Mount Rushmores because right now it's just off the cuff.
That is
You know, you got-
another podcast, my
That,
friend.
like
that's a whole
Ali, Jim
Yeah.
Thorpe. I mean, if you can't like Ali, Jim Thorpe, Johnny Unitas,
That's a Baltimore fan speaking, Johnny Unitas. All right.
dude, the Johnny Unitas is the original field general. Hold on, that is the original field general. None of
That's
these
the
guys.
great thing.
He is the OG, and then you got to add Ruth in there. I mean, or Garrett. I mean, Ruth,
Gretzky,
Garrett,
Gretzky,
Gretzky, Jordan.
Jordan,
I mean,
Tiger.
So you've got to figure. That's
There's
the
not
great
enough
thing.
space.
This is a debate,
God,
right?
there's not enough
And
space.
so
Hold on,
really,
you didn't hear Doug per sport. Mountain per
it's per
sport.
sport.
Oh, per sport,
So you're
per sport.
thinking each
4
sport
football, 4
will
Okay.
have
baseball,
4
4
cards.
boxing. Okay.
Oh, God.
Will
Okay,
have
there you
4
go. Running.
cards.
God,
And so
I
if you
couldn't.
thought about, okay, who are your 4 Mount Rushmores of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, wrestling?
What's hockey? I've never even
Olympics,
heard of it. What
What's
the hell's
hockey? Gretzky, come on.
Gretzky, Gordie
I-
Howe,
I know he's still playing.
Lemieux,
there.
Youngblood, the kid from the movie.
Right,
Those
Youngblood.
kinds of things. But so and that just ties in another great thing about sports. In our Discord, when this comes out, man, think about the debates
Oh
that
my
are going to
God.
happen, right?
Oh, nice.
And that is, you think about, we may not watch reality TV. We may not discuss The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, or any of that stuff, but we meet and we talk about sports because we see those, like that really weird play at the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit game yesterday where there's like a pickle and and they lost. We talk about that stuff, and collecting is really about all that. It's the discussions, and it's about, again, being like in shop. Imagine it being in a shop and having these debates. But Brady sucks. Thank you.
So
I'm a
we're getting,
Rams guy
we're getting some
myself.
notes in here for those who are listening, right? We get Brady sucks. He's hitting us with these little tags because,
Lemieux is on the list for sure.
oh, come on. It's got
So-
What's up, Tom?
But it's really about, we come from a sports background, and to this moment, our breaks have been non-sports. So we're really hoping to get back into sports because Lee has been doing some great art on his stream where he's drawn a Ruth and he's drawn a Gretzky, and it's like, oh, I'm all in. People want this. We are pushing towards that. We had a meeting last week. We talked about, I think, the next 17 or 18 products that are in the work. Here's a little tip of one. You get a little sideshow here. We've got these coming in.
Oh, Star Trek.
Star Trek. We've got some good stuff going.
That's Ken. That's my best friend Ken. Loves Star Trek. He's a big Trekkie guy.
We're trying to branch out. I mean, we're trying to build our base so we can branch out. The stronger the foundation, the taller the house, right? So we're trying to just make it where we can do Star Trek. And maybe when we've got more people, we can do a wrestling thing. That's a process of growth.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things we really tried to do is not only are Trevor and I were really proud of this, is not only are we working with these people, we're collecting these people. We own art from these people. We're trying to be, in addition to running the community, we're trying to be a part of the community. We're buying art from people we work with. We are out there finding new artists, trying to get people. We had a conversation with someone running a school about maybe doing a contest. Trevor can talk about that. Cool. But people are coming to us and wanting to be a part of it. They like what we're doing.
Well, you mentioned, John mentioned the wrestling thing. And this is what I love about these communities. It's the whole 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
As we're talking about this, the wrestling piece, I'm good friends with the vice president and treasurer for the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. And I know the president well enough, and they're actually putting that here in Albany. That's coming up here in August. At the end of August is the Hall of Fame inductions and all those kind of things. So that's an opportunity if, you had stuff like that to come out, just like going to cons, going to card conventions. And Trevor, you started to bring this up and talking about collecting for a minute. That's one of the big difference between card people and comic book people is like comic book people. We get books, we read them, and then we stand around and we talk about the story or, hey, that doesn't fit, for this storyline. That's bullshit. They rewrote this story. And we have those where card people, you guys sit around and when you open things, it's very like, it's that like, what's in here? Holy shit. What is this? And you open it and then you go, oh, and you go through that process. It's very different in the entire piece. I mean, I know Doug's very, very much more like fancy than we are, Trevor. I mean, he's got like original kind of like Egyptian art and shit like that, he's got like
you'd be surprised with sitting in my coffers. I will tell you.
Oh, what do we got here? Okay, hold on. You can't throw that out there.
I can't, and I will because my early days I started off as
my God. Wait a second.
I like
Ice Wolf just came up with the next box. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon box.
We're not putting bacon in boxes. Sorry,
no. You do the artwork. You get Lee to draw like what looks like bacon around the box, and then each card has to be some degree. So there's only 6 cards. And only 6 cards, but each card somehow feeds to the next one.
I'm confused.
You get it?
No, and I say that because you're not supposed to. I think it's hilarious because you're hitting on
it's so great. I love it.
Great. You're hitting on a point though. That's what's so great about this is there's so many things we can do. There's so many things that you can create with this when you are applying the way that we're applying it, right? Because I'm going to touch back on the point you brought because you're bringing up something that's close to my heart. I haven't bought a modern baseball card or a sport card since the beginning of the year. And you know why? These companies are fucking it up. You want to hear my honest truth?
Yeah, no, go with it.
Yeah, I'm going with it because Topps, Panini, all these people, they're wrecking it again, man. This is the 90s over. We lived through it as children, but back then the boxes were $36 and $50 a box. They're thousands of dollars now.
No shit.
No shit. And I watch these guys open these boxes up. And I tell you this because I collected Wander Franco. People don't know who Wander Franco is. Watch some baseball. He's been the number 1 in baseball for the past 3 years. I bought his cards back when they were nothing. Everybody didn't know because I just liked the kid, right? I also collected Kyle Lewis, who's like a piece of glass right now. But in that world, I collected it because what? I put a word in there. It was what I wanted. Today, I think the collector in general, the modern new collector is more speculative. They don't even not collecting what they want. I watch people go into breaks and they're just like, oh, what am I even getting into? I didn't even know soccer. And I'm like,
yes.
Then why are you getting yes. But what you're getting at is when you see that, whoa, they're good. It's a hit, right? So they're looking for that mechanism of value. So, and me and Doug have been in this industry where that was a big thing in 2005 to 7, where value in sports cards, we say this a lot. When you go to the convention, the sports card conventions, a lot of people talk about value. It is. It's just what it was. And what I was blown away about when I went to Comic-Con with Lee Cosi first back in November, I was blown away because I hadn't been in a Comic-Con since 95 or so, years. And I forgot the common bond that we have with that, the storytelling, the stick around and hang out, the cosplay, the fandom, baseball, collector, car collector, don't have that today. There are baseball fans, but I will tell you for at large, most baseball fans aren't card collectors. True story. And if you watch it, it's very interesting because card collectors of themselves, most of them, have got a little gambling tinge to them. And I say that not in a bad way, but I also say that in a very careful kind of way because they're constantly chasing their investment as quotes up, right? So the more I delve into this, it's a whole podcast. I can go down the run of where I think everybody right now, like I haven't bought a card and I won't, because I don't want to do that. What I tell anybody else is go buy some sets from 2005 and see who still made it. Yeah. See who's still in there that you even know their name.
Right.
So back, you hit a nerve with me there. So I say that because for me, what we do is completely different, right? We want to put honestly a better box out. That's what me and Doug said from the beginning. We could put a better.
We want to build boxes we'd want to buy. And I just see, Ice put down there the real value in collections are the memories, not the money. I have a great example of that. And I think it's actually going up on our Instagram soon for What Do You Collect Wednesday. When I was a kid, my dad took me to coin shows, Long Beach Coin Show, and he was looking for coins. I was young, so I'd go look for elongated pennies, right? Like I'd look for those stretch press pennies you can get at aquariums. They've been around for hundreds of years. You go back to like the 1890s for all the world's fairs and stuff like that. And I built a really nice collection, and then I forgot about it. I mean, life happens, high school, sports, girls, all those kinds of things. But a few years ago, my youngest, Michael, started like finding out that you can go to places and get elongated pennies. And so I got to go back and find my binder that I had built 35 years ago with my dad, go through it again, and all those memories come back. And then I get to share those with my son. And so they're not hugely valuable. They're generally now $1 and a penny when you go to a store. But I get to do the things with my kids that I got to do with my dad. So I kind of get double the joy out of it. It's like, oh, I remember going there with my dad to the show and looking around, or I remember sitting there at his desk, putting these in the little sleeves and binders and talking about, this is a 1904 World's Fair. Oh my gosh, these are all the World War II aircraft. And I get to do that again. And so those memories are those connections are the real power part of it.
Awesome.
The value is more than the cost or the price. It is the time we get to do where I get to talk to my son like I get to talk to my dad. And I don't have my dad anymore, so I can kind of be that person and learn his lessons from then and pass them on. That's really powerful. And so you talk so much about sentence from where you are, and little things like that, those connections start things, right? My son, Michael, was not a football fan till he met a football player. And then all of a sudden he is the biggest football fan and wanted to go to every game and was crushed when the player got cut and went to another team and was gutted. I mean, but that's why we're fans, right? That's because we have a connection to something. It's why you're a Ravens fan. You grew up there. They're your team. Or you're a Unitas fan. You watched them play. Because there's connection. Did I tell you my Johnny Unitas story?
You might have. I mean, he did. His last team was San Diego.
Yeah, but we connections and the memories. I could to this day can tell you meeting Trevor at the Hollywood Park card show with my dad, looking at cards, and my dad's like, "Oh yeah, I got that." And Trevor's like, "What?"
No, hold on. I got to tell this story because it's
tell the story, Trevor.
It really, whatever. So I collected 19. Hold on. It's true quintessential Chad, right? And I say this with all love because so I collected 19th century baseball cards. For those who don't know what they were, there was a company called Old Judge specifically that came out with thousands of different photos, super hyper rare. And I had a big holding of them and pretty proficient in collecting them and, in a small circle, very small circle, very high end. My point is I had probably about 100 of these sitting out in a case, right? Most people, if they're lucky, have one in their collection, one. So Chad Dreier, and then the others are cabinets. You get these mailing cabinets, and I had 5
N173s for the
173s. And most people have, if they're lucky, one of the collections a centerpiece. So, and I got them all laid out, and I'm thinking like a big shot. I walk in, and Chad Dreier looks down at my collection without a breath, and goes, "I got a couple hundred of those at home." And I went, he didn't say hi. He didn't say how much. He didn't say none of that shit. Meanwhile, Doug's standing behind him, just shaking his head like this, just like he does, just up and down. And I'm looking at Doug. I don't know these guys from no one, right? And then Chad looks down at my N173s and he goes, "I think I got about 100 of those at home." And that's what happened. My jaw dropped. And I instantly said, I got to see him. And I looked at him. I go, I don't want to buy him. I go, I'd love to see him. I'd love to be a part of this. And because, for me, it's just seeing it, right? It's so rare. I thought it was some kind of honey hole find, right? I was going to go to some guy's little garage and, Encino or something like that, right? No, they send me the address and they go, head up to Santa Barbara. That's where they're from. And as I drive up to Santa Barbara and go higher and higher up this hill, I realize I'm not going to be buying any of these. And as I get in there, I sit down and
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So as I get in there, I get and then I sit down at the table and there's this just nice table, beautiful view. And we're sitting on this table and he pops out this shoebox. And for those who don't remember or know Chad, I should say, for those, he loved shoeboxes. This dude put everything in shoeboxes. And the reason why is so his wife could get some shoes. So he always bought shoes for his women in his life. And
everybody. He'd be like, I need boxes for cards. We're all going shoe shopping. My mom, my wife, the women that worked for us, they would just go to Nordstrom's. But they had to be specific shoe boxes. They had to be the kind that pulled up top as opposed to the flap.
Oh, really?
So you were limited in what you could buy. But if they had the right shoe size and everything, all in. That was his jam.
Chad's a buyer. And I say that because for me, he sits down and puts down like this pink box that was like, I don't know, Prada or something, like a Prada box. And I'm just like, and I'm going through all of these. And at the time, it was a funny story because I sat down and I go, I can tell you exactly how much you paid for every one of these. He goes, no, you can't. I go, yeah, I can. And I go, you bet you paid $250 for each one. He goes, how the hell did you know that? And I go, well, because I sold him to this guy for $200. He's the one buying him, selling them to you. He goes, no way. And I go, yeah, we connected because I was the kind of the middleman for that. Well, no, it gets better. So, and I'm just looking at one box. So I'm like, oh, this is cute. He collects 19th century cards. It's really cool. And then he brings up box after box after box. And the box that got me the most, I open up this box. And as I open in my heart, I'm like, is that a T206 Hannes Wagner in a fucking shoebox?
Like the $1 million Honus Wagner?
Back then it wasn't $1 million, but let's call it what it was. It might as well have been in the world of collecting. Because back then when we collected, and I say back then, this is 2005, right? Not that long ago. But in 2005, man, I mean, Garrett, the cards back then, you could have bought a Babe Ruth rookie for 25, 30 grand. I mean, it's nowhere now, Right. It's different. But back then, as I went through this Wagner, he goes, come here. And he takes me down to like his basement. I go into his basement. He's got gorilla racks with every set. My jaw's just open. I'm like, he's like, yeah, I've been doing this since a kid. Like and he was a collector's collector, meaning that necessarily they didn't care about high grade, but they collected about the set, the completest. And then it gets better. Then I go into the backyard. We walk across this parking lot and he shows me this building, this beautiful empty building. And he goes, my dream is what I'm thinking about is making a museum. You want to help? And childhood dream come true. And from there on, it was that simple. And that's what we talk about connections that it was, and Doug will contest to this. It was probably some of the most special time in our lives because it wasn't about what we were collecting. It was more about how we connected together and just the experiences we had. And I say that because for those who don't know about the Dreier collection, dude, look it up. I mean, the pitch, it's great.
Well, we've
great.
told so many stories about the things that, Doug comes on every 3 months. And I have to thank all you guys at DCD because it started with Doug sending me a message through podcast guest directory.
Yeah.
We connected. He had never been on a podcast before then. We started talking. We built a friendship then. We've talked since then, who knows how many times. Trevor at that point was still trying to hide in the back area, not let anyone see him. After the first podcast, he's hiding in the back. He doesn't pop up. After the show's over with, I'm like, who the hell's handing you stuff?
Yeah.
And Trevor pops out. The second time Doug's on, he kind of like peeks his head around.
I'm the guy at the desk, man. I've always been the guy at the desk, man. I'm the guy behind the guy.
Well, today was like, Doug sends me a message like, hey, Trevor might pop on. Next thing I know, Trevor's here the whole run.
Yep.
And I didn't know you knew this many words, Trevor. I mean, I'm really impressed that you know this many words in the English language. Because most of the time you're like, hey, how you doing, man? What's things going on right now? I'm over here back here. I'm hearing shit that I'm like, wow. So now I got to ask this though, because I know you guys we're into this, and this is one of those things. And this is the thing about collecting. This is a 6-hour forever show. I could change the entire format of this show, and it could be, the three of us bringing on different collectors every week,
We're in process of our own podcast system. We're making it happen.
I was gonna ask when that thing's happening.
Yeah,
and we could go through this, but what have you seen? And we'll stay with baseball cards, comic books, sports memorabilia, that type of stuff. Is some of the, I don't want to use the word odd, but unique or eccentric things that you've run into that people like to collect?
Who are you asking?
Yeah, I don't care, either one of you.
People like to collect hair. You know, you see people who you can buy lots of hair from, say, Napoleon, Lincoln, Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe. You can buy all that kind of stuff. There are, of course, there was an auction, pretty infamous a few years back, where people were trying to sell parts of the plane that Roberto Clemente had crashed in.
Former United States Marine Roberto Clemente.
So one thing I've learned, as Trevor will tell you, there's somebody that will collect everything. And if you are out in this world, you will see some of the weirdest collections for whatever reason. You can't describe why, but people will collect fabric. They'll collect barf bags from airplanes they've been on, airlines they've done. I've seen it. The people, it's really about whatever you connect with, right? Like, one of the things I do that's kind of silly is I collect a deck of cards anytime I'm at a casino. And if they have a used deck, I just buy it. Now, not worth anything. It's not expected to
just
be
your
worth
thing.
But I like it. It's like I've been there. I collect Mont Blanc pens because I was given one when I graduated grad school. And they ultimately, I was a big Jules Verne fan, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And they had, Mont Blanc had done a line of artists or authors, and they did a Jules Verne pen. So I bought it. And it was, to this day, one of the most beautiful pens I've ever owned. But then we were collecting books. So I'm like, oh, this would be a great joint collection. So I collect Mont Blanc pens. In fact, this black cabinet behind me, that's all Mont Blanc pens right there.
And I was going to say, you're not in your normal spot today.
No, I try to move around to give you different
background. You're not in your normal spot. Normally you have some kind of.
But then those collections, those connections have been built. I've done speaking engagements from Mont Blanc. I did an event with Rebecca Romney of Bauman Rare Books. She was from Pawn Stars. We did a speaking engagement about collecting and pens and books and how they all work together. Here you've got Ice saying, ticket stubs, bus tickets, airline concerts. It's about connections, right? You went to those things. They're proof. People collect all that stuff. Trevor, what are the things you've seen people collect?
So, anything and everything. It goes back to what Doug says, right? In the term collection and collecting and collectible and all that really happened around 1969. For those who don't know, the word collector's edition and all that really spurred up not too long ago. But the oldest collection I started with, and I think all society, is coins, right? So I started in coins. And for me, I loved coins. I have a couple things here I'm going to show. For those who don't know what I'm going to show, is I liked good coins with a story. So I wanted something that most people, don't know. And in this item, you could probably get something for around $500 to $1,000. What I'm going to show is the first coin ever minted by human beings.
What?
So in Ionia, Greece in 650 BC, Ionia is where they started, and they would take pieces of electrum. For people that don't know what electrum is, it's before they actually learned to separate gold and silver together, right? So they take the metal, and it was palatable. So what they did is they would smash, and what I'm showing here, in kind of hard because my camera's blurry, but what they are is they're little animals smashed into this material called electrum, which is gold and silver. And they have little lion's faces on them. But this is from the beginning. This is the first. So I'm a numismaticist. For those who don't know what that is, it's not a magician. It's someone who collects coins and has knowledge of coins, right?
Thank you for explaining that.
Right? So most people say, a coin's value is whatever the material is worth, right? As whole as to the market, right? The other side of the collectible value that they call is called the numismatic value. And the other coin that I like is, and you can get this coin, it's like $500-$600, right? And it sounds, but this coin I'm about to show everybody is a tetradrachma from 332 BC from Alexander the Great in Babylonia's. This is from Babylonia, Alexander the Great's mint in 323 BC, right? So this coin, why can you get these? Okay, well, they buried their money. There was no banks. They buried them before they went to war. These banks were all buried in the ground. So as they excavated these became available. So that's what me and Doug talk a lot about when we're working our boxes and creating things. Like, I mean, think of an ancient coin box, right? Think of, as we're doing this, the thought process is educating people on, you can get your hands on this. See, I collect Ben Franklin. So I have a lot of early colonial history notes. Ben Franklin was a printer. I have Poor Richard's almanacs, things like that, that to me, it's history in your hands, right? Everybody loves National Treasures, right? They all love that movie, right?
Right.
You can hold stuff like that. You can get items like that. So without going too much down a rabbit hole, you literally can collect whatever you want. It is attainable, some stuff monetarily not, but you can go down a little bit.
So I'll follow that up with, I married a Danish woman, and my favorite literature series is the Saxon series about the Viking invasion. I collect Viking literature, and I collect Viking artifacts. So I have a cabinet full of rings, axe heads, pendants, amulets. I actually own an original Viking sword that, is from about 800 AD.
How did I not know this?
Well, you can actually kind of see it right there.
Every time.
And the axes, and there's Viking artifacts. And the next time we do a podcast, it's going to have to be every week now, apparently.
Son of a bitch.
Trevor can show his coins, his first usage of the word dollar on a coin.
That's the first use of the word dollar on currency.
What is that?
Okay, it's a colonial note. Right? And this is a colonial note where the first time the word dollar was ever used on U.S. currency. And what it stood for is one, Spanish milled dollar. That is a Spanish milled dollar that was pulled out of the ocean from 1776. I wish I had a better camera. We're working on all this. So as I go through this is what me and Doug have really talked about. It's our background, right? Our background in collecting. I mean, I started when I was 5. Collecting rocks and coins. But as we did this, right, kind of where everybody starts, it was always because of what we liked. It had a story, the things that we kept. And again, I go back to where I started our whole podcast from. I'm a hoarder. and I say that in the most loving way because we're organized hoarders, right?
Organized hoarders. Yes, thank
cool
you.
Shit, and for me, that's what we collect. Some of these things that I have will fucking be buried with me. Excuse my French. It's just, I have no other words for it other than saying that. So I do want to touch really back on like those packs that we talked about and building these boxes. Yeah, it crushes my heart when guys like Bourbon open up those packs.
Oh, that's so great.
But it's another topic that could be a whole other podcast. It crushes my heart when these guys cut open Babe Ruth bats. They cut the jerseys.
I don't understand that.
Trevor and I have had this talk, and DC will tell you when he used to open sports cards, I'm crushed when I saw, slices of jersey or bats from Ty Cobb or.
Those are the ones that I don't understand. Like, I get it if it's a
travesty, a crime against history. And I, as someone who values set collecting, my dad and I had built card sets no one else had ever built. And then when I saw them sold and then broken up, it's crushing. And you're like, those should stay together. And when we bought the Kirk Gibson collection, we bought it to keep it together because they were being sold individually. And we thought, no, the hat should be with the helmet and the jersey, and that should stay in Southern California. There were some reasons beyond value for doing that. And it was almost like a moral imperative to keep these things together. And so, and Trevor, I know will agree with me, when you see cut jerseys of Duke Snyder, to pick someone I know Trevor's a big fan of, or Babe Ruth or Ty Cobb, it's crushing, and it's really sad. And that goes to these points where I said earlier, people are spending thousands of dollars on a box to hopefully get a signed jersey slice of a player, say, Giannis, and then, but for $15,000, which is the price of some of these boxes, you can buy a game-worn jersey, which is whole and complete and one of one, and get it signed. These Mike Trout jerseys behind me, they're all signed. They're all game-worn. They're authenticated. I'd much rather have that than a bunch of signed, sliced jersey patches.
Yeah, and as we get into this, and we're going to get ready to close the bar up, because I want everyone to make sure you're going to DCD Collects on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, Twitch, all those places.
Instagram is our big one. Yeah.
IG, go on there and make sure you're following these guys and you're seeing what's coming up. Make sure you also can look up DCD the Breaker. He does all the openings. Got a phenomenal voice, fairly decent mustache. Also, gotta give the guy a little bit of credit there. Make sure you're following these guys. But the other side to it is, so a lot of what we're talking about is emotional collecting. This is emotional collecting. We're all emotional collectors. I've sold very little of my collections, and I promise you, everything I've sold, I've looked back and went, I wish I still had that.
Oh yeah.
And it's things like, because they had great stories like buying the second appearance of Punisher at a yard sale for like $5 off of a guy who didn't know what he had.
Well, that's that whole story. Trevor's a poker player, and so everybody remembers the big one they lost more than the big one they won, right? I mean, they remember the stories more than anything.
So where is that? So for you though, gentlemen, and look, Doug, I'm gonna put you out there. You've sold a whole lot of shit over the years. Like you've built a life off of collections and selling them and doing those pieces. I think Trevor sells foot picks, folks. So I don't know what he does. Like on OnlyFans foot picks, I think is what he does.
What is it? Why, Trevor, does everybody make these jokes about you?
Because you know what? Because you're just finally coming from behind the curtain, Trevor. We've all seen Doug for years in doing this. Okay. You're just coming from behind the curtain and finally being like, all right, you guys were.
Okay. And I can say that because I'm really comfortable being the guy behind the guy. So my background comes from television production. I did television production for years. I worked for a company called Lucas Oil. We built a whole network. And that's why you see the picture of the truck with Jeremy McGrath. I did short course, right? So my background really is production. It's what we're doing now. And I looked at the linear side of television and kind of button all this up to tie into what you're doing. It really does tie hard now into the dynamicness of interacting with your fans directly. So what are we doing with all of this? For us, it's taking that like as it comes, like what's going to be next for us. It's podcasts, it's videos, it's content, but it's also education at best, right? I mean, getting on panels and being involved with the community as you're building here, right? So for us, that really is the quintessential background of our business model, but also using cool shit to do it, So,
but you said Lucas Oil, the worst team plays at Lucas Oil Stadium. Garbage.
Man, why does it got to go back to football all the time?
Because it goes back to football because they're the traitorous, sorry ass with a sorry ass owner who ain't shit. He ain't.
Wow. How do you really feel?
Oh my God! Every your question, every Ursay ain't shit. You come find me.
You sell things, I will tell you, I'm a collector, and when we sold our collections of sports and Hollywood and books and gems and minerals, there was always something else we were focusing on, which did help. And I can tell you, looking back, I don't miss the stuff as much as I miss the connections. And today I could walk around Santa Barbara and people will be like, oh, Doug, God, I remember, whatever happened to the museum. I remember taking my dad up there. He got to hold a Babe Ruth bat. You made such great memories. I mean, those are the types of things that are really give you happiness and joy, is the memories that we did that. Trevor and I have held, we did hundreds of events up there. We had Kirk Gibson and Ernie Banks and
John Wooden.
John Wooden was right. I mean, we did John Wooden's last public event, and that's another great story to talk about later. But, those are the kind of the things, the moments, the memories, having the Smithsonian come out to do a thing and holding stuff and watching people make memories and the connections. I'm always collecting stuff. So there's always something else to focus on. Right now it could be Mike Trout or books or decks of playing cards or anything. So as long as that need was fulfilled, comic books are.
This is recent. I'm holding up a big stack of comic books. I just went to my local comic book store. For those who don't know, Amazing Spider-Man 1 just came out. I mean,
it's really the connections and the moments and the memories and the connections that we've made, like Trevor, and now like you see these guys, Ice Wolf, and yeah, there you go, Ice Wolf and DC and all this community. That's what I love the most. Like that's what I'm most proud of, is that we're building an authentic community of friends. And
so if somebody wants to find you,
okay,
where we find them?
The easiest way to find us is on Instagram. We're just at DCD Collects. And through there, you can go to our website. And then if you're on our streams, which are usually Saturday night, which we'll be doing more soon. Saturday night, join us at DC The Breaker on Twitch and YouTube. Join our family, our community. From there, once you've bought a box, you're part of the community, you can join our Discord. And that is where we're doing a lot more interaction. We're doing buy, sell, trades, and, crap talking sports, and, Colts and Ravens and Rams and basketball and memes and all that kind of stuff. That's the community. But the easiest way to find us is at DCD Collects. And then from there, like wrestling belts, absolutely, that's a thing to collect. And it's really, you've got the memories of getting those. Yeah, as DC says, join our family. And one of the things I really want to say, and I say this in our meetings all the time, there's a business speaker, a motivational speaker named Steve Farber. And his motto that I've taken is do what you love in service of those who love what you do. And that is what we're doing. Trevor and I and DC and Lee, really, we get to handle great art, meet cool people, build great boxes, and sell them to people who love them and love us for what we're doing and are part of our family, our community. And that's the real joy of this. We get to wake up and open up baseball cards, and we're searching for Star Trek cards, or working with artists to buy custom cards, or looking, here's like a product we're working on where it's like old Mandrake the Magician comics, right? I mean, so we have so many great reasons to do this. I get to wake up and my days are spent talking to some of my best friends and building really cool product and having great conversations. And that's where we are and what we do and how we live.
Will you just buy John out and just buy all his wrestling shit so he can do he's like, he's got it all. And I'll tell you, that's and look, we do this every 3 months, folks. Doug is him and I have discussed this every 3 months. We set up a time, he comes on, we talk about it, because this is something that I don't care who you are, you collect, whether it was you thought that you were going to collect this thing. In the comic book world, probably the biggest bust, in my opinion, was the Death of Superman books, where people were out there buying hundreds of these, just stacks of them in Mylar bags, and didn't realize that they weren't killing this guy off. He was going to be back in a month. Yeah. Are you stupid? And
for those who don't know, they're killing the Justice League. It just came out today.
Right. See, and I've got, look, today is Wednesday, so this is comic book day. I've still got, we could talk about this even, Trevor. Like, I'm getting ready when I do my next pull. I'm way behind in picking stuff up. I've got to pick up everything. I'm probably going to drop everything from the big two, stay with the third. They consider Image as the big three now. Image has stepped in, and just stay with all of my indie books. Yeah, I read the indie books that I read are so much better than the stuff that's out there. Alan Moore still comes along and does stuff. Those guys are out there and they do amazing stuff, but most of those guys have their own indie book that's somewhere out there that you could read. Tom King did Sheriff of Babylon, dealing with him when he was in the CIA. That is an amazing. His Batman run is unbelievable. His Sheriff of Babylon is better. His Sheriff of Babylon.
Have you checked out Gunslinger yet? Have you checked out the Gunslinger stuff?
I've read Gunslinger.
Okay, I just picked it up. I did the full run. 7's out, and I was like, dude, you got to back issue me. Is it good?
I'm actually what I need to get over and pick up is I love that series, and this is something that a lot of comic book companies are doing, and they started it back with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. For those of you that don't know, Buffy's like on season 18 or 19 right now, because what they do now is the shows go off of TV and they continue them as comic book series, and the runs through comic books are seasoned. So Buffy's like that. I love the TV show Magicians. If you like Harry Potter, but you're an adult, you you know,
Yeah.
watch Magicians, go back and watch that series, and then start reading the books. They came out with that with probably about 6-8 months ago. I've got to pick up through that. But I'm reading, I just finished I'm up to date as far as what I've got with Oblivion Song, which is done by Robert Kirkman. I have the first issue signed by Kirkman sitting CGC'd in my collection. That's an example of, getting into, and I think Skybound, as far as those companies are concerned, Skybound has figured it out. You can go on I think they do it about once a month. If you follow Skybound, they do a vault where they sell stuff at great prices. And they still to this day had their version of a breaker box at NYCC about 2019. It was $50 for a box. Every box had a guaranteed 9.8 CGC book in it.
Yeah.
And I got the 10th anniversary issue 1 at 9.8 from them that sits on my Walking Dead wall. It was all Walking Dead stuff. I have a whole wall for Walking Dead. But this is what, we're talking about, folks. If you have a collection, you love collecting, don't mess around. Reach out to DCD Collects. I know we're talking about baseball cards and we're talking about football cards and sports memorabilia thing, but I will tell you, I would promise you, between these two gentlemen, if you didn't listen, they know a lot about other collecting also. So I promise you, if you reach out to them, they may not be your guy that's looking to buy or sell your collection, but I promise you, they probably know the direction to point you, who to reach out to that is at least going to give you an honest evaluation, an honest conversation, because I've reached out to Doug in the past and been like, hey, I got this thing. I can't find a price. Can you give me an idea of what I'm looking at here? And he gave me an honest assessment of what I was looking at. So those are the things that we really want you folks to understand about this. And it's a family, it's a community. I don't know if bourbon's going to last in it at that long, if Trevor ever got within arm's reach, but we'll do our best. But make sure you're reaching out to DCD Collects, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all those locations. Subscribe to all their stuff. Subscribe to what they've got going on. Make sure you give them a follow. Same thing with our stuff, folks. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. If you've got something going on, reach out to me. My email is the Above the Bar Podcast. We'll get this .com going. I just realized the other day, I didn't realize I bought AboveTheBarPodcast.com, the name. I didn't realize I even bought it. I might have been a little inebriated, so I was like, fuck it, I own the name. I might as well.
That's well.
Make it happen. Let's go.
I got this shit. I might as well do something with it. So make sure you're reaching out to all those things. We're gonna do this again in 3 months, whether Doug likes it or not. He's bound to it. He done messed up. And real quick, while I'm thinking about it, we had Isaiah Gill. There's another one collecting music stuff. Isaiah Gill was on a couple of weeks ago. He is the current drummer for Black Flag. And he was on, and he sent me this amazing shirt from the band North by North. The dude is awesome. Gotta love all their stuff. So thank him for that. Go give him a follow. Absolutely. For everyone who hung out with us all night, thank you for hanging out. John, everybody that was on, DC, we're going to get you on here sooner or later, and you and I can talk about how you got into being a breaker. That I think would be interesting in and of itself. As we always do, though, gents, because we can go on for hours with this. I know we can. Because I know the three of us, this shit, just so you know, folks, this is going to end. They're going to hang out for a minute, and we're going to still talk for another 30 minutes as I'm downloading all this and getting it all situated to come out tomorrow morning. So make sure you give everybody a follow. Make sure you're going on to also following the podcast. I need you on Apple. I need you on Spotify, wherever you're at. Download it. Give us a rating. That rating means that other people get to see it. That's how that crazy algorithm shit works. People don't just find anything anymore. It gets stuffed in your face. So you two can figure out who's collecting, who gets to say it first. But as always, the guest gets the last word. So How about Trevor? Because you never get to talk. So Doug, you say your last word, and then Trevor gets the last word.
You know, I'll just quickly say, one, it is a true pleasure coming on and talking to you, and the vibe that we get here, you know, you and I talking now, Trevor talking, is exactly what we're going for. It's that feeling of we are amongst people who speak the same language, have that shared bond of collecting. And you said it before, it doesn't have to be what we collect. If you understand collecting, it all makes sense. I can understand why someone would collect Barbie, or someone would collect artwork, and the concepts are essentially the same. It's just a shared language, and it's like finding your tribe and being excited about something. And you may be excited about a comic book no one else has heard of, but you come talk to your friends, and all of a sudden it's the greatest thing, and you got that joy, kind of like talking about sports. And that's what we're doing, man. And so what we're doing here is what Trevor and I are trying to create at DCB Collects. And so thank you for being a big part of that. Thank you for joining our family, Sean. It has been when you join our chats, our breaks, we love having you, and we just love what we're doing.
That's awesome. Trevor, what's the final word from you, brother?
Word. Whatever Doug said, word. I mean, that's it, right? I mean, I don't have anything else to add other than like, yo, word. I mean, he laid the smack down. That's what this is about for us, though. So I guess I do have a little more other than, collect what you want. That's really what I tell everybody. And that's what we're trying to portray to everybody else is give you a different perspective on collecting rather than what's presented out to you in the regular world, right? So we're trying to add a new angle to collecting and make it more about community. So to being on this podcast and connecting with look, we already connected with 2 other people right on this podcast. So, I only said I had one word. I got a lot, and I do, but for me, it is the joy of getting to do this with people like you and my best friend. And, I don't sit behind a desk every day, but I do. And for me, right, it's all of that. It's to be able to say I went to a comic book shop today and that was work. So as we go through this collecting world, we're blessed. So that to me is really what this is all for me is I think a lot of people right now are looking for an escape. And a lot of people are looking for a place that they can find that might be a different angle on life, whether it be work from home or be there for your family. So, as I go through this, it's community and family is everything. So again, Sean, thanks for letting us put it out there, man. This is dope.
All righty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.